welcome you back to the International Care Leavers Conference. As you all know, this journey began on the 24th of October with the first pre-event, and then we saw a number of successful webinars and a 3-day of excitement where all heads and fellow care leavers, policymakers, practitioners, researchers from across the globe joining in. This so far has been an exciting journey. Good morning, good evening. This so far has been an exciting journey for us all, and I welcome you all to the International Care Leavers. So today, hi, my name is Gift Zorai, and I'll be your moderator for the next 2 hours as we wrap up our convention. But this is not the last, as you shall see. We have different things lined up for everyone. I welcome all of you from all over the world. But for starters, we want to start with our mentor, with our mother, the visionary, Dr. Kiren, who is going to take us through different things. I want to say to Dr. Kiren, she's the founder of Udayain Trust, which is an organization that works with a number of care leavers across India. And we say to Dr. Kiren, thank you for your vision. Thank you for working with us as care leavers this journey. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Gift. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today, as I begin to speak to you all, I'm absolutely wonderstruck. 1 year, just 1 year, and so much has happened. It was about the same time, a year back, when in a FITSE conference in Israel, that Professor Wolfgang from University of Hildesheim, Germany, Martini Tobe of Kinter Perspective, Netherlands, Chathuri Jayasuraya of SOS Villages Asia, Sri Lanka, and I, Kiran Modi from Udayan Care India met. It was a meeting of souls coming together of similar passions and objectives. 3 of us were practitioners and 1 researcher in academics, but all of us, all the 4 of us, hugely involved with care experienced youth and care leaving in our own ways, in our own countries and continents. In Israel itself, our plans were made, and thus began this beautiful journey of walking with care leavers and care leavers networks together. It was decided to do a first of its kind conference on international level with the care leavers in March 2020 in India. But as you know, COVID happened, playing havoc in every which way, striking down our plans of an in-person conference. But it could not dampen our burning desire to bring the care leavers of the world together. The following months swelled the numbers of care leavers and their networks in our contact lists, and a series of webinars happened about which Gift mentioned, leading to a declaration by the youth of 11 gaps they perceived in services, especially in COVID times, and their recommendations, which has seen many translations and about 42 global organizations and networks of care leavers from across the globe endorsing the declaration. Next was a natural outcome of these meetings, a decision to hold a virtual convention, the first ever for care leavers, by care leavers, for care leavers. Together, towards empowerment became a strong theme and resonated with the care leavers networks across the globe joining us. Organizations right from UN, ILO, Watania Society, EPIC, Eurochild, UN Habitat, FITSE, and many, many more came together to support the convention. 4 care leavers networks, Clan India, GNG Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe Care Leavers Network, and the Latin America Care Leavers Network even joined us in the organizing committee. Now, I must tell you the great news. Actually, more than 1,500 people from 83 countries participated in the 3-day convention. Awesome, isn't it? The 3 days convention from November 23rd to 25th started well before right from October and well into November, with 4 pre-events: the need for networking, role of video in finding my voice, contribution of research on care leaving, and the last one, a contest of poster presentations on research and practices. These were really appreciated by practitioners, researchers, and above all, by a host of care leavers who were involved in the whole process of conceiving and conducting these. The 4 pre-events and the special cafe session with American care leavers saw a total turnout of over 650 participants. Actually, the attendance taking to 2,200, a number which we could never have imagined in an in-person conference. The 3-day conference had many sessions, right from uh, keynote speech by Mark Riddle, who inspired one and all with his drive and determination that led him to become from a care leaver to the National Implementation Advisor, Department of UK. There were panel discussions, breakaway sessions in these 3 days, in which practitioners, researchers, policymakers, and care leavers themselves participated and enriched the debates and discussions. There was a special session conceived for the care leavers of Americas, Canada, USA, and Latin America. The convention addressed a lot of issues around aftercare, some really good practices across continents, the trainings and care required during the transition of youth to adulthood, the gaps in services and policies that limit care, sadly, to 18, the relationship between extending the age to receive continuum of care for the youth and adult outcomes for the youth leaving care. These discussions gave rise to many questions around the policies and practices, and the care leavers developed their own charter, which in a very participatory way they have finalized, chiseled, and pruned their demands to a smaller number, and will be today presenting to the 9 policy makers and influencers who have very graciously agreed to be present today. They will be listening to them and give their first-hand reactions and tell us how global care reform and policy is going to change and not remain what it is. I'm sure as much as I am waiting to hear this conversation, so are you all. I must tell you, as I had announced on behalf of organizing committee in the last session of the convention, that the Care Leavers Networks, along with us, we have all committed ourselves to sustain this global movement, as Delia Pop said, and develop a large heart family, as Nimu, one of the care leavers and organizing committee members said, and solidify the Global Care Leavers Network. Also hold the second International Care Leavers Convention in 2022, as well as a repository global website on care leaving. The rudimentary website will be launched soon for you to have a glimpse. This will become successful only when we get greater participation and support from each one of you. Before I sign off, I must thank the organizing committee, all our sponsors, donors, and technical partners, our speakers, moderators, and MCs, and all the young people who participated and contributed over the last 1 year, and more concentratedly in the last 2 months, starting right from 24th October till today. And of course, our event managers, New Socia, without whose wholehearted support an event of this magnitude could not have happened. Thank you so much. Over to you, Gift.
Wow, 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 wow. What a marvelous presentation from our mother. As you have all heard, this journey began on the 24th of October. It cannot end there. We are so thrilled and honored to have even the policymakers. This shows how committed our policymakers are. I'm also honored to see my own policymaker, who is Honorable Dr. Matthew, who is also joined us from Zimbabwe. I am saying this shows the commitment of different government officials and also different platforms. Thank you so much, Dr. Kiren, for highlighting what has been happening throughout the year. It may be a year of catastrophe, but for care leavers, it's a year of hope. It's a year for motivation. It's a year for speaking out loud as care leavers. Thank you so much, Dr. Kiren. Now, to set the mood going, we have another remarkable doctor with us, who is Dr. Joe Derek, who is going to tell us what is possible in these different eras. Dr. Joe Derek is the Chief Executive Officer for Scotland through Aftercare and Aftercare Forum, which can be, in short, be called STAFF. This is a membership organization for all those who are involved in the lives of young people living in care. And also, she has been a director for the International Foster Care Organization. She has also, which she was in 2017, she is a strong advocate for amplifying voices of young people, especially those who are living in care. So now, without further ado, Dr. Joe Derek, I leave this platform to you to share with us what is possible. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Gift. That's a lovely introduction. Thank you. I would just like to thank everybody for the opportunity to share some experience with you today. I would also just like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on the conference, on the convention, on the actions that have come from the convention, and that real passion and commitment to amplifying the voice of care leavers. That's something that resonates very much with me. I would just like to see if I can share my screen at the moment, which I'm about to attempt to do. And I will make sure that I keep to time, because I know we have so many people that we want to be able to hear from today. As Gift has said, I just wanted to really just draw your attention to the triangle as much as anything else on this slide, because what it does is just really brings together why it is that I wanted to be able to share this experience with you today as the Vice President of IFCO and also the Chair of our Youth Committee, which is very much ensuring that the voices of care experienced young people is at the heart of what we do and actually filters right the way through our governance. And that's very much the same when it comes to the work that I do in my day job as staff. I really appreciate the introduction and Gift. You have promoted me slightly in life. I'm not yet a doctor, but what I am is very much an operational chief executive that has been very much involved for the past 20 years in work, but I very much appreciate that. So I just wanted to move this on for a second. And that's just to give you some of the resonance from IFCO, and just to say that IFCO is supporting the declaration that has been made by the care leavers from this convention. So congratulations, and again, really looking forward to the conversation today. But the main reason that I was asked to be involved is because of my experience in Scotland as Chief Executive Officer for STAFF. And STAFF has been around for 22 years, very much focused on care leavers and those that support them. So in just a whistle-stop tour here, in 2014, CELSIS, which was at the time the Centre for Excellence for Looked After Children in Scotland, and STAFF, we undertook and published a national study. And you can see here that there were a number of inconsistencies that were found across a number of key areas. And that included the variable levels of engagement and service provision across 32 local authority areas in Scotland. There could be rationing of services based on local interpretations of eligibility, weaknesses and inconsistencies in data collection, and I have to say that there are examples where that is still the case in Scotland, and the impact of resource demands and service restructure and redesign was having an adverse impact on services for care leavers. There's a lack of consistency in the prioritisation and the implementation of corporate parenting responsibilities towards care leavers across local authorities and partner agencies. And for the purpose of today, corporate parent is essentially an organisation that has a statutory responsibility for care leavers and care experienced young people in Scotland. So the Scottish Care Leavers Covenant was launched in 2015. It was the work of cross-sector alliance of organisations, STAFF being one of them. And this is facilitated again still by CELSIS and continues to be facilitated today. And very much the focus and the emphasis was about supporting corporate parents, carers, practitioners, managers, and very much decision makers in fulfilling their duties to improve the life chances of all of Scotland's care leavers. And it takes a holistic, young person-centred approach, and the purpose of this was to focus on the long-term wellbeing needs of care leavers right the way into adulthood and beyond. There are 4 key pillars underpinning the Care Leavers Covenant. And again, I'm hoping people are able to see that. I'm not sure if actually I can, I may have put this in the wrong side for you to be able to see, sorry. So it is very much about the care proofing of policy, recognising that there are structural disadvantages and inequalities and opportunity that are encountered by care, and ensuring that these are prioritised in policy documents, i.e. we do not find that care leavers are left behind when it comes to policy positions. That there is an assumption of entitlement, that all care leavers are entitled to services, support and opportunities up to the age of 26. And that discretion exists in definitions of vulnerability, so that we're not always restricted by age, by policy. We all know that actually we all develop, whether you're a care leaver or not, we all develop at different stages, and the age should not be the criteria for a decision about services. They should be person-centred, very much coming from the heart, and that it's not necessarily about age. So this is where I'm starting to get passionate as well as what I'm reading, so bear with me. It's also about staying put and continuing care. It was about the full and meaningful implementation of actually saying that young people should be able to remain where they are and not be moved on again because of age. That they're not moved from children's services into adult services and find that actually that means that they have to move on when they're not ready to, if not ready to. This is about saying where you are, if that is the place that you need to be and want to remain, that you should be able to do so. And underpinning that is a relationship-based practice, and that is something that is absolutely key and vital throughout. Relationship-based practice, we know that golden threads of good practice are rooted in good relationships. And that is something that runs through the covenant, through the work that we do. I'm not going to speak to today, but there is the independent care review that has been undertaken since 2016 into 2017. And it's very much emphasising the fact that relationship-based practice is key. So the covenant itself, it calls for a range of implementable actions to be taken by Scotland's corporate parents. So that's about making decision makers, people who have responsibility at a very senior level within Scottish society. And that's about closing the gap between policy intentions and the consistent practice. And the majority of the local authorities, colleges, universities across a local and national level have endorsed that covenant. And again, as I say, that was from 2015. There are a number of similarities, I thought, in terms of the key themes that had emerged alongside the declaration that has emerged from the convention today, which I think is really interesting because we're talking about areas such as housing and accommodation, employment, we're talking about youth and criminal justice, rights and participation, and rights is absolutely fundamentally important and at the heart of all of this. And you can see where I've put the foundation stones referring to some of what I was talking about before. But this has also been updated as part of the response to COVID-19, and digital inclusion is absolutely fundamental. And I know we will be able to talk about that in many ways through this, but it's not just about being able to have access to devices, it's about having the income to be able to pay for the data. And it's also about having the support around being able to use that equipment safely. And if this covenant as an agenda for change is fully and consistently implemented, then it can transform the way care leavers are supported as they transition into adulthood across Scotland. And that is ultimately what I'm particular in terms of my role within staff. I'm absolutely insistent and that we do. Just briefly, I suppose the point I really wanted to make with this slide is, again, it's about where we get power and influence and how this is utilised. It offers corporate parents a set of guiding principles, and this is about where this fits within Scottish legislation. It also asks them to put this into their principles and actions into corporate parenting plans. These are plans that have to be written up by every corporate parent and that they go back to the Scottish Government. So the accountability for delivery on these plans sits there. And what we're fully advocating is that the voice of young people and care leavers with lived experience is absolutely embedded from the heart and from the start of these plans. It is not a tokenistic and should not be a tokenistic activity where people sit in a room, create a strategy, run it past a couple of young people towards the end and say, what do you think, is that okay? This is about absolute co-design from the heart and from the centre. It's run through champions boards. These champions boards consist of young people who have lived experience, and it is facilitated through the planning partnerships and health and social care, recognising that this should not be siloed in any way in one department. Finally, again, I've put this here just because some people will be aware of GIRFIC. This is a Scottish Government agenda about getting it right for every child. It's about a holistic person-centred approach. It's about a multi-agency approach. So it is absolutely about every single person that is around that child in their life journey, and ensuring that they are supported. And this is about, if you're aligning the covenant with the GIRFIC, we have one, excuse me, I beg your pardon. Sorry, we have for each child, there is one child, one plan, one care journey, and that those principles continue beyond the young person's care setting. It doesn't stop at 16 or 18, and that it continues on. And that outlines the high standards of cooperation, joint working and communication across Scotland. If anybody is interested, because I will be bringing this to an end just in terms of time, there are a couple of things that I would be able to just signpost you to. If you look up the Scottish Care Leavers Covenant, you'll see there are video clips. That's Bruce Adamson, who is the Children and Young People's Commissioner for Scotland, who also talks very much about the rights of children and young people and the importance of having their rights at the centre of anything that's committed to. And I also just wanted to highlight the Scottish Care Leavers Covenant Alliance. That's those of us that were involved from the beginning, and many stakeholders around us who continue on about upholding that covenant. And as I said, I've most recently updated. So there are a number of resources that are available on that website if they are of interest. I would conclude just by saying that it's so important in any work that we're doing, particularly around a covenant though, is about listening and hearing the voice of those with the experience of care. It's absolutely fundamental to understanding the problem and co-designing the solution. This is not something that should be done unto, it is about working hand in glove. Supporting organisations like my own need to be consistent with their messaging, but we need to be persistent. It is not going to happen if we say this is one-off and then it can sit on a shelf. So we have to be persistent, ensuring that it is heard and that it is followed through. Trauma-informed relationship-based practice supports love in the system. And actually that's what we're talking about, is people. So it should come from a place of love, and it's not necessarily a place of process. Collaboration is absolutely key. And so I'm more than happy to have contact details if anybody would like to discuss my presentation any further. Thank you very much, Gift, and I'll hand back over to you.
Wow, wow, so amazing. I'm also making sure that you go into the doctorate mode also. So when I say Dr. Joe Derek, you go in that mode also. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Joe Derek, for such a wonderful presentation. You've actually shown that if there is political will and political commitment, support for care leavers will be there. And what is also important for us to take from her presentation was, we don't look at age, but we look at stage in terms of how we support care leavers throughout the world. So thank you so much for such a brilliant job, and thank you for sharing with us what Scotland and yourself, your organization, is doing to assist our fellow brothers and sisters who are in Scotland. This also gives me a great pleasure to welcome my fellow colleagues who are care leavers themselves from different networks, from different countries. You know, during the conference, the convention, we had 17 takeaways, 17 issues that care leavers came up with and said, we have to drive these different decisions home. So what we did is we made sure that we have takeaways, but out of the 17, we discussed and we made sure that we present only 8 takeaways. So as you have seen on your first slide, these takeaways were compiled by care leavers. Care leavers made sure that they came up with this. And we are so excited about the takeaways. So today we're only going to share 8 of them. But if you want the rest of them, they are definitely on our online website. And I want to encourage us all to throw in our questions, our answers in the chat box, because we are there to respond to them. So we are also going to make sure that how do policymakers help when it comes to these key takeaways? Can I have the next slide, please? So we have different quotations. As you can see, these are care leavers speaking with their own voice. And these are different quotations that we managed to come up with. You can see that there's a quotation like care leaver networks are like families. As we all have different families that we rely on for interdependence, it's the same with these care leavers networks. So care leavers are saying, as we have different kinds of networks, these are families. You can also see another quotation saying, together we shall stand to walk a journey of empowerment. These are different care leavers speaking about the journeys to empowerment, saying, let us hold hands each other. Postmakers, let us work together. We can also see there's another quotation which goes like, my life is your job. Some people are working in different caregiving roles. And we as care leavers, we are saying, this is a job for you, but this is my life. So we need to make sure that we are sensible whatever we are doing. I can go on and on and on in terms of getting the different quotations that care leavers had. But we all know one thing for sure, that the care leavers deserve support. Care leavers deserves different supporting mechanisms to make sure that they go with their lives well. Nothing about us without us. So now, without further ado, I want to ask my colleagues to present the different 8 key takeaways. Oh, we have another one. Those who decide for us have not lived our lives, so they should listen to us when they are making policies for us. I'm glad that policymakers have done a commitment, and today they are joining us. They are listening to us. They are hearing our voice. Can I have the next slide, please? Then, as care leavers, we have made a covenant ourselves. I'm happy there's a Scottish covenant. Now, this one can be renamed to the International Covenant. We, as care leavers, we have decided that we need to build an international care leavers network, which is going to be an umbrella body that works with different care leavers networks within different countries and different continents. And also, not only that, the other covenant we have made to ourselves is we want to organize the second International Care Leavers Convention, which will be in 2022. I know there are different countries. We can even see some are even bidding in the chat box or even in the question and answer box. They're saying, we want to take it for 2022. Well, it's all up to us. But as care leavers, we have said we need to make sure that we work towards having a second International Care Leavers Convention. And we want to thank the organizing committee, Udane as the leaders and other partners who have joined in for spearheading this and for showing care leavers that they can also be part and parcel of organizing their own affairs. So without further ado, I want to take you over to my different colleagues. There is Karishma, there is Robin, there is Nelam, there is Halan, there is Jack, there is Fabienne, there is Neem, and lastly, Ruth and Sabati. We want to hear the different takeaways that they are going to present for us. So over to you, Karishma, and the other colleagues.
Thanks a lot, Gift. Here I would like to invite Nimu. She is going to talk about this key takeaway. Nimu, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Gift and Karishma. Hope you can hear me today. And have a nice day to all you. And I'm going to talk about we need to build an international care leavers network and works towards to the second International Care Leavers Convention 2020. With an international network of friends, we always be interacting with and learning from different cultures. This kind of networking will also help us meet like-minded people who are compatible with us in terms of future ideas, life goals, aspirations, and other plans. Also, with meeting the compatible people will help us to expand our knowledge, discuss which are aspects of the career path, share experiences and stories, etc. So When we feel we are missing on opportunities, knowledge, or inspiration, some people are in the various networks are just very good supporters and listeners and can always bring a helping hand in our life. The big example from my end, you won't believe how bad my English was. But now I am not perfect, but I have confidence of speaking in front of international meetings. It inspires me with the love, attention, admiring, getting through the network's members. Is there any reason need to be there for networking? I love this networking. So this is mainly I feel we can build confidence and these networks give us opportunity to feel more comfortable, become vocal and practice interaction with other people in a way that creates a safety net for me as well as other my sisters and brothers. Talking about the 2020 International Caregivers Convention, I'm so excited to be there. With the heartfelt connection we gain from the beginning, we can move to the next convention with proudly sharing our victories, many more highlighted stories, challenges, and even we may able to talk about the situation of the points given by the panelists and the implementation progress on the previous convention discussions. So I feel when we are in this 2020 convention, there will be more and more networks come together to work with us and will share the experiences, policies build up in their countries, the positive impact from the previous convention also. So at last, I want to say some of the strongest and most long-standing friendship are born from networks. As long as we have a strong network of caregivers and supporters, we can also be confident that someone within our sphere will be able to answer even our toughest questions. There is such a beautiful and heart-touched line I heard by some of my sisters who get to know through these networks. Karishma, as you say, networks are families for caregivers. Also, gift also you said, which is more important than blood families. For me, you are my sisters and brothers. Yes, dear, we are blood sisters and brothers. Lots love. Sis Ruth, hope I remember you asked how you will say good morning from Sri Lanka language. We started to learn our languages. It was tough, but you enjoyed it. So this is beginning and networking given us more and more interesting path to go. I may speak more if someone didn't stop me. So before that, I will quit for today. So let's find more and more networks and meet on 2020 convention also. Thank you a lot for your passion, listening to my voice, and have a nice day. And so I would like to hand over to the next speaker, my sister Neela. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nimo. Hello, everyone. I'm one of the care leavers from India, Udayan Care, and today I am here to highlight the unfortunate constraints and circumstances that have emerged due to this ongoing pandemic for vulnerable care leavers across the globe. To inform you all, back in June of this year, around 100 care leavers from 25 countries participated in a webinar to explore and discuss the challenges faced by them, and also talked about how adversely COVID outbreak has impacted the lives of this forgotten segment of our society. We all are very well aware that how COVID has resulted in the job and income loss for many. But for care leavers, it has followed with a financial, food, well-being, and housing crisis. It forced them to survive on their savings, to pay rent, and other utility bills. I sometimes wonder, like, there are a few care leavers who are at least able to support themselves because they have some savings. But what about the care leavers who have just moved out from the residential care? They have no savings to rely on. They have nowhere to go to. They have no place to, a shelter to fall asleep peacefully every night. And I believe a place to sleep is a basic and a critical need for every living being on this earth. And I've also found out that many care leavers saved money from their jobs by doing a rigorous cut down on their desires to to continue their further studies, but are now forced to use their savings to meet basic needs. in the absence of supply or of groceries or shelter from government and civil society organizations. The present situation is inducing, a lot of stress, mental, physical, emotional stress in them. Getting education is a fundamental right for every child. Many caregivers are not even able to attend their online classes because of no internet connectivity, no laptop, no smartphones, no funds to afford any of these. This has disrupted their education and has affected their dreams of a better life. At the last, I just want to say there should always be some financial support or scholarships from government and civil society organizations for caregivers because many of them are sacrificing their dreams to earn a living for themselves. They should be provided with help in job post COVID-19, should also be given some guidance and financial support on housing after they have left residential care. I just had these points, and I really appeal and request the policymakers and whoever is available today to come forward and take some steps to help caregivers to make their lives better. And at last, I just want to say, please check, share, and implement Caregiver Comprehensive Document made by 100 caregivers from different continents. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And now I would like to invite Fabian to present another significant takeaway of our convention.
Hello, everybody. I want to present one of our really important key takeaways from the International Caregiver Convention, which was certainly the demand of an International Caregivers Day approved by the United Nations. With a day dedicated to caregivers, they would finally achieve to step out of the invisibility they occupied for too long and into the public space where they belong. Caregivers are a part of society, not less than anybody else. And it is important that people all over the world do know what a caregiver is, do know about their struggles in life, and stop looking away from it. It's important to know for anyone that it's never the child's fault in which complicated family situation it was born, but it is the responsibility of the authorities, of policymakers, and higher institutions to grant to every one of these children the best possible way to live their childhood and to start their life as adults. And caregivers want to speak out for themselves. We just need to listen. When the world does not know about these children, will anything change? These children need international visibility and attention. And what they do need even more is to be involved into the whole process of decision-making about everything that is concerning them and their lives. No one should forget that there are a lot of people and organizations and authorities out there who are deciding about things who have a great impact on the lives of caregivers. And all this without living or having lived the life of caregivers. Caregivers must be included into this process, and that's what we are all fighting for. Why not giving caregivers the possibility to engage directly with the UN to push forward changes? I say it once more, and I say this all the time. It's one of my favorite phrases. It's those who decide about our lives have not lived our lives. And what more? The United Nations to have a commitment fund for caregivers, which is accessible to the different caregiver networks in the world. I won't start to bore you with a lot of calculations, but I want to state that the amount of money of such international organizations is more than a normal person could imagine. In my home country, for example, Austria, a country of almost 9 million people, Around 1,000 care leavers leave care every year. 1,000 in 9 million. And in all the other countries around the world, it's quite similar. Some have a bit more, some have a bit less care leavers. But how could it be that these few people, in comparison with the whole population of a country, are not granted a safety network? Young people who have no one to turn to when they face difficulties in life. Maybe it is because a care leaver is, up to this day, still a term the average person doesn't know about. Not knowing about is equal to not caring about, and so nothing will change. And that is the point why it's so important for care leavers to be acknowledged by the United Nations and to be given a proper day on which they have the possibility to step out of the unknown, the unrecognized, and into the center of our society and our awareness, the possibility to use their voice and to speak out for a change in the life of care leavers. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now I hand over the word to Jack.
If there are some connectivity problems, please go back to Karishma. Karishma, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I have some serious network problem here as well. So because of my bandwidth, I will not switch on my camera. So thanks a lot, Fabian. It was wonderful listening to you. And my point is like the important key takeaways, one of the important key takeaways, which is we need free and quality access to mental health services after leaving care. And to start with this, first, I would like to say that not all wounds are, visible. And just because, some wounds are not visible, this doesn't mean that, it doesn't hurt or need no treatment or attention. So hello, everyone. I'm Karishma from Clan Delhi, India. As per 2020, according to UNICEF, there are, roughly 153 million orphans worldwide. Every day, an estimated 5,000, 700 or more children become orphans, and we cannot ignore, the increasing impact of COVID-19 on these numbers. The numbers will definitely shoot up more because of death rates and poverty. And all these children and young adults need mental health support. So when we say we are care leavers, it is very, very important to understand that we just don't become care leavers. We have lived and exited from the care system. This is why we are called care leavers. And also it is important to understand why did we or any child enters in the system or needs care and protection. Well, there could be, many reasons. So let me help you with some of them. Let's say, a child who needs care and protection comes from tortured, neglected, exploited, homelessness, abandonment, forced labors, mentally or physically challenged or ill, having no parents, or having just a single parent who's not in capacity to look after the child, parents who have long term mental health issues. This also adds up to the lot of challenges to the children, and they become their own caretakers at very early ages. And also you get children in CCIs and other residential cares from the challenges. Let's say if somebody gets married at the age of 14, and that's not the right age to get married. A lot of cases of missing or runaway child whose parents are not traceable. And also here I would like to talk about adverse childhood experiences. So it is not so difficult to understand that when a child enters in the system, it is very, very much there that the child has, a traumatic background. And in many scenarios, these children are just 6, 7, 8, 10, and so on. And, you can imagine the kind of trauma, a child goes through at that early age. So when a child is in the system, the foundation, has cracks. And when those cracks are not healed at the right time, when those problems are not addressed at the right time, these problems increase as the child, goes on to school, college, later on starts, working, and so on. So let's say that, you get a child who has a very traumatic background, and the issues of mental health or the proper mental healing is not provided to that child. Imagine how difficult, it is for that child to get in school or for some vocational centers learning and later going to the college. And also not everyone is so fortunate, to get into colleges. Very few, make that success in their lives because, and sometimes they get those facilities where they can go and study. So when a child turns 18, at that moment a child is supposed to leave the care. You don't have any option. You have to go out. In that, no support, no one to fall back when you are in need. So when you are out, emotional and identity crisis just increase, and they lead to so many issues of mental health challenges like post-traumatic stress disorder, we can say psychotic disorders, depression, bipolar disorders, and other severe mood disorders, eating disorders. And one thing which should not be ignored, that in care leavers it is observed that they have high tendency of suicides and other problems. In many scenarios you can see aggressive behavior towards other, antisocial behavior, lack of habits and discipline, short attention span and lack of concentration. So imagine you have some kind of trauma and then you just out in the world and you start going to work. Do you think will you be fit in that environment to work with those those kind of traumas that you're coming from, and not even healed, no proper medication or care has been provided to you? How it intensify your problem once you get into a relationship or get married, or at any space you live. So it is very, very important that all of us need to be very careful when we reach out to young adults or even children from different care settings. When we reach out to them, people are very curious to know what happened to you, how come you're here, how did you enter in the CCI, and what is your background. We don't realize that we are making that child revisit the traumas and just remember everything again and again to talk about it. And it is also very, very important for the care leavers and young children to decide the kind of audience with whom they would like to share their very, very personal stories, the stories of trauma and challenges that they had as kids, and even when they are 18 and out and there is no support to fall back. It is very, very important that we understand and identify the health mental health problems from the perspective of care leavers for better and effective interventions. We need free and free and quality access to mental health services after leaving care. And I hope that you all agree with me, all the care leavers who are with me today, and even those who are not care leavers, they can understand and relate to the kind of mental health issues that we face. And there are thousand and millions of kids all over the world who are going through these kind of challenges, and in so many scenarios they're not even aware that they have these challenges and these mental health issues, and how it is impacting their overall life, their physical health, their mental health, and their overall growth and development. So I hope that the wounds which are not so visible will get addressed, and proper mental healing would be provided to all the care leavers. And there should be, and there must be, and there will be some specific policy and system for free mental health services for care leavers. Thank you all for listening to me. Now I hand over to Helen. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Greetings everyone from Kenya. I'm Alan Otieno. And I'm going to present on the key takeaway that talks about we need a proactive rather than a reactive approach to mitigate the challenges and adjustmental difficulty faced by caregivers. This is the reason why I'm saying this. You find that most of the time, if the caregivers share their stories, you'll find that if they share their story, you can really question whether this person was brought up or they simply grew up. Like in my case, I can say like, when most of the time when I'm asked whether I was brought up or raised up, I simply say I simply grew up because of the difficulties I've faced. Then the other thing I'll say, we need a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. This is because you find that most of the time we do talk a lot, but most of the things implemented. And you find if these things are not implemented, no progress we are making. And most of the caregiver continue suffering. We just simply talk about these things, but we don't put them into action. So you find most of the caregiver find it difficult to move ahead. Some of us even lose hope because like, if we find that now that I was under care and I'm leaving care, and what I discussed the previous year have not been implemented. You find some of the caregivers will find it difficult to come and join the network because they say like, even if we discuss these things, they are not being implemented and there is no action being taken against the things we discuss. So they don't see the reason why they should have to discuss about all this again. The other thing I would like to say, you find that the reason why we need a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach is that most of the time when we graduate from colleges and university, we find that most of the time we don't have anybody or any umbrella where we can share out our difficulty and the challenges we are facing. And we get that while leaving the schools and universities, we find that most of the time we are not well prepared. And if you are not well prepared, to mean that you cannot take care of ourselves, and there is nobody to take action against the challenges we are facing. So we find it difficult to survive in life. And if these things are implemented and put into place, we'll find that we'll know the number of caregivers getting out of care and how do we support them so that they can move on with their life and live a healthy life. But most of the time you see, like Charisma has said, we get into mental health issues because of we are still in care, and while leaving care, still again there is nobody to take care of all the things we are supposed to do and how we are supposed to take care of ourselves in life. As human beings, we find that most of the time we do talk a lot, but as we know, action speaks louder than words. Policymakers that they take this one into a keen interest. Now that we've been discussing many of the challenges and difficulties caregivers are facing, which are very important to our life. So if these things are implemented, we can find a way of moving on and getting new challenges. But if they are not implemented, we find most of the time we'll be discussing same issues at the same time, and there is no any action being taken against them issues. So this one make it difficult for us to come up with new ideas when the older ideas are not solved. The other thing I'll request policymakers is that let us not have all these things we are discussing only on papers, and let us try to find out and get the records of the caregivers living care and where do they always go to, because we find most of the time somebody is under care, this person leave care, while outside there, nobody is taking care of them and nobody is even following them and know what are they doing in life. Finally, I'd love to say that if we implement all these things, you'll find it easy for the caregivers to live in peace and be at a healthy and be able to even support each other. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say about the proactive approach rather than reactive approach. Thank you very much, and thank you very much. May God bless you. Thank you.
Jack, I can see Jack. Jack, you can go on. Jack.
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, members. Am I clear? Hello?
Yes, Jack, you can continue. We can hear you. You can continue.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ellen, for your presentation. It was good. And I was following you seriously. I'm sorry for my video because I'm a little busy at the workplace, so I don't want people to see what is happening. My name is Sabiti Jack from Uganda Carelivers project. The topic I'm supposed to handle is 25, it should be the new 2018 soft landing from Planet Youth Care to Planet Earth. This has been as an outcome of the 3 days convention that we had here, and I hope everyone was around and you followed it clearly. Out of this, I've also come to realize that, when you talk of 25 years, should be the new 18 soft landing from Planet Youth Care to Planet Earth. Here would definitely mean that the difference is there. Is just like someone who is a institutional care is on a different kind of planet, different kind of world. You're coming out now to start facing a different world, which is really like two worlds in a row, and which is really very complicated. So here we find that a child that leaves the institutional care, meaning the different kind of world, this child has, like mostly with the caregivers, we always have a lot of challenges because we really come from very different and poor backgrounds. When it comes to trauma, we have traumatic backgrounds. We have different difficult kind of pasts, which is really very difficult. And we really need it in a different way, not that way. Therefore, according to us, when we sat down, we confirmed that it is really necessary for this year to change from 18 to at least 23 years, where we realized that at least from 23 years, a caregiver that is living in institution coming out to start living in the world is really well prepared and can really face the world with all its problems and all its calamities.
Hello, Jack.
Yes.
Can you please kindly, we have just a session that we want to do before you can finish. I'm sorry for just cutting you in on that. Can you just
No, it's okay.
we want to bring in, I'm sorry, Ruth and Robin, can you just hold on to your presentation just a little bit? Just want to bring on so that we have a session where policymakers are able to react towards the different issues that have been raised so far. So I want to welcome Ms. Duaraka Siramato, who is going to moderate this session, and she is the Chief of the Adolescent Development and Generation Unlimited from UNICEF India. I'm just going to give you a few minutes to moderate this session, then we can just quickly wind up on our presentations for the takeaways from the remaining three caregivers. So I'm handing over to you, Ms. Dorawaka, to get the session going. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gift. Really, it was so heartening to listen to all the young care leavers, the fantastic work that you're doing, but also in terms of the discussions and the requests that have come through as well. I'm also honored to be really moderating this particular session with 4 esteemed panelists. I'll first start with a quick round of introductions and then request them to share their thoughts and reflections, both at the national level, but also possibly at the regional and global level as well. It'll also be great, the 4 panelists, if you could share with us, if possible, some of your commitments that you want to take back from the discussion and the sharings that young people have told us. So first, I'll call upon Mr. M.K. Singh, who is the Director, Ministry of Women and Child Development in India. Mr. Singh has more than 21 years of experience as civil servant. He has been supervising the implementation of the Child Protection Scheme and Juvenile Justice Act of 2015 with Government of India for more than 2 years. Presently, he is also officiating as the CEO of the Central Adoption Resource Authority. Over to you, Mr. Singh, to hear from you some of your reflections, thoughts, and commitments.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dwarka Shriram, Chief of Adolescent Development and Generation Unlimited, UNICEF India. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Kiran for giving me this opportunity and to be a part of this International Caregiver Convention. And today it is really very nice day to listen so many caregivers. So definitely we will learn so many things from these caregivers, that what are their requirements and how their requirements can be shaped in our policy making, so that these caregivers are getting maximum benefit, and so that these caregivers can be a part of the society. And it was very nice to hear Ms. Karishma, Nimu, Ms. Neelam and all, and really they have given very nice presentation, and they express what are their requirements and whatever challenges they have faced during their stay, and basically they have expressed their challenges during the time of COVID, and this have been noted, and they have focused on their support system. They want really financial support, help, and housing support, and this has been noted. And whenever policy is going to be discussed or implemented, these points will be highlighted. And for awareness of all, Government of India is having Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015, and this act is basically for two types of children. One is the children who are in conflict with the law, another is children in need of care and protection. So Government of India is providing financial support also, and the Government of India providing all the legal support also with the use of this JJ Act 2015. And Government of India is running a child protection scheme, and through that scheme we are taking care of all the children who are in need of care and protection and who are in conflict with the law. So Government of India is providing support for the children who are leaving the institutional care also, and these are the provisions given in our JJ Act, and from the JJ Act we have formulated guidelines which covers the implementation scheme, that is known as child protection scheme. And as per our juvenile acts, we define aftercare program, which is known as a children without a family or other supports who leave any institutional care after they attain the age of 18 years, so that they can sustain, and these sustainability will be helpful during the transition period from institutional life to their normal life, means independent life. So even after care institution, we have provided model rules also. Government of India's frame model rules, and based on these model rules, we have given freedom to all the state government to frame their own rules, so that all the children who are attaining the age of 18 years and when they are going to leave the child care institutions, so all the benefits should be given. And before they are leaving, there is a provision for individual child care plan also, means that before a child leaves the institution, it is the duty of district child protection officer who is heading this program at the district level to make individual child care plan, which is the best interest of the child. And it is the duty of DCPO, means district child protection officer, to select some organization who can provide these aftercare services to their children, And there is a provision for community group housing also, and that is on temporary basis, where 6 to 8 young person can be accommodated. And there is a provision for encouragement to learn vocational training, and so that they can get a proper employment once they learn their vocational training properly. And there is a provision for encouragement to gradually sustain themselves without state support and move out of the group home to stay in a place of their own after saving sufficient amount through their own earning. And this has been already expressed by our care leavers also. And there is a provision for peer counseling to stay in regular contact with these groups to discuss their rehabilitation plans and provide creative outlets for channelizing their energy and to tide over the crisis period in their lives. And purpose of this is to provide a stipend during course of vocational training until the youth gets final employment. And Government of India is having for implementation of this program, Child Welfare Committee and JJB, because before taking any decision, we are taking the opinion of CWC, because they study the life history of the child and they decide where child is likely to move and whatever care is required. So CWC and JJB take that decision also. And Government of India is providing financial support at the state level for this aftercare program. So there may be some points from care leavers that these amounts are not sufficient. So definitely whatever views have been expressed by different care leavers, those views have been noted. And I had an opportunity to meet one care leaver also in my office. She came here and she presented very nicely. I think today also she expressed all those points here. So even on that day, I noticed, even on that day, my full team was here and we all listened her very carefully and we noted all those points. And all those points have already been communicated to the higher ups, and definitely at the making of any changes in the policy, we will take care of all those points which have been expressed, and we will definitely move forward so that all care leavers get maximum benefit of these schemes, and they can stay as any normal person. So, and this discussion will be going for further few hours. So definitely we will again note down all those points and we will try to implement and we will try to incorporate all those points in our policy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for highlighting some of the key initiatives that Government of India is looking at, but also the willingness to consider the points that have been raised by the care leavers. Now we will move on to listening from Mr. Mahmudullah, who is currently working as the Additional Director, Department of Social Services under the Ministry of Social Welfare, People's Republic of Bangladesh. He has a long experience in ensuring the best interests of children in conflict and contact with law, as well as disadvantaged children. He has expertise in family, community, and social reintegration and rehabilitation of children who are in juvenile development centers and in different alternate care settings. Over to you, Mr. Mahmudullah.
Thank you very much, and all of you. I am clear to hearing? Yes?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Chair, dear participant, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, very good
Can
morning.
you please switch on your camera? It will make it easier for us to. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I try to my level best to inform in our country practices and law and legislative. In Bangladesh, according to the Majority Act 1875, over the age of 18, they are being over the age of 18 years is considered as a major and independent. However, any citizen between 20 and 35 years of age shall be regarded as youth according to the National Youth Policy 2017. The vision of this policy is moral, human, and forward-looking youth capable for boosting prosperity and glory of Bangladesh. It also provides that the government shall take special measures for the welfare of youth. State through the objectives of this policy has expressed its commitment to develop the youth as good citizen by providing necessary assistance. We have Labor and Employment Ministry, also Social Welfare Ministry, for the well-being of the unemployment, destitute, and disadvantaged segment of the society. We have a stipend scheme for the care labor. The children who are caring in the institutions, after leaving the institutions, and the children who are good in education, we support them for as a stipend monthly. And these stipend continue to up to completion their studies. And every year we increase the care labors with caring with the care labor support in this scheme. Although it is true, there is no specific care labor policy in Bangladesh right at this moment. So we want the care labor policy, global care labor policy. It will be very helpful for globally and also us. Our recommendations, the objectives of care labor's policy should be supporting care labor's successful transition to independent living. Key minimum standards at a policy and legislative level should include secured and stable placement, strengthen care, support learning needs, preparing young people for living care and preparing them for independent living. Recruitments of social services workers with a specific mandate to work for the care laborers, strengthening their capability, adequate budget allocated is needed for care laborers. The peer-led networks and associations of care laborers should be supported financially by the bilateral and multilateral organization to increase the profile of the issue and the successful outcome of the intervention may lead to acquire necessary recognition by the respective governments. Once governments recognized the issue, it may be part of their mainstream agenda of the National Development Plan. Research community may contribute in increasing profile of the issue by conducting study and research from different points of view. They may organize the findings of the study or research according to the requirements. So I mention the one thing, I gave a special thanks to Neelam. She rightly mentioned the needs for the caregivers. She mentioned the financial support for health and education. And I also recognized her, and more other comments. Skill-based training for young people and adults who are caregiver, it is needed. Financial support for a small business and a small entrepreneurship. Support from regional and donor country of monitoring and functioning policies. I mean, caregiver global policies. It will be functioning when support from regional and donor community is provided in this association or in this implementation, then it will be functioning. I think psychological support for mental health care and to reduce stress when they face problem belonging with their birth family or foster family. I also think develop safeguard policy for caregivers and social workers. Capacity development training for social workers on burnout and stress management, and also counseling. I think challenges change the policy gaps to support the caregivers. Another point is interministerial coordination among the different ministries and ensure accountabilities in between implementing countries. Networking and coordination with local, international, and regional agencies is very much essential for the caregiver policies. I especially addressed one point. We must address the PWD's caregivers with our journey. I mean, caregivers policy. It should be of must address the PWDs. And the institutions provide the caregivers when the PWDs. When the PWDs is care leave, then it is very much measurable. So that it is important points, I think. We need one global policy that joint us and we become under a umbrella regarding the caregiver policies, caregiver support, so that I think that type of initiative is needed to be taken. Before leave, I give a special thanks to the organizers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, and have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mazuzla. I think some of the key highlights that you talked about was the issues that we need to consider when caregivers are transitioning from childhood to adulthood, and what are some of the needs and requirements. You also highlighted the need for stronger collaboration and networking, not just at the country level and the ministries, but also with the regional and the national level. And I think it was very good for you to highlight also within the more vulnerable groups, also the persons with disabilities and what are their requirements and how we can take that to consideration. So thank you very much, really appreciate it. Now moving over to the third panelist we have with us, Mr. Madhav Prasad Dungal, who is the Executive Vice President of the National Youth Council, an autonomous government organization under the Ministry of Youth and Sports in Nepal since 2016. He has received the Future Policy Award in 2019 as recognition of youth-friendly policies in place where Mr. Dungal played constructive and decisive role. He has been a Central Committee member of Nepal Communist Party, the present ruling party of Nepal, since 2014. He has been playing a significant role to mainstream and empower Nepalese youth through providing policy feedback to the government, suggesting them to allocate enough budget on youth development and engagement, creating youth networks and connections to them, envisioning and creating model youth enterprises, encouraging and motivating youth to be first-class citizens prepared to get involved in nation-building process. He holds master's degree in sociology and political science and has been undertaking his PhD research in socialist education system in the context of Nepal and the dreams of preparing skilled and entrepreneurial youth for prosperous Nepal. Over to you, Mr. Dungal.
Thank you, Siramji. Attendees on the webinar, guests and all panelists, viewers and listeners from different social, political, and governmental platforms. Namaste and good afternoon and good evening from Nepal, or a beautiful country of Himalayas. I am very glad to know that a webinar to International Caregivers Convention was held in 2020 November with 900 participants from 83 countries, some with enriching discussions and very positive outcomes. I am very much impressed with the outcomes of the convention to create caregivers networks. Appreciation to the effort of the think tanks, attendees, and the initiatives. It is the time to translate the words into the action. It is the time to ensure the care levels issues get solved and they will get opportunities. Therefore, we are gathered here today to translate the outcomes of the convention into policy and practice. It is a perfect initiation. As an executive vice chairperson of the National Youth Councils, I am invited as the panelist for the remarks. I thank for the organizing team for this opportunity with the purpose of International Caregivers Network. Youth Council is the hope and hub of Nepalese youth aged 16 to 40 years old, which ensures no youth should be lag behind. To fulfill the goal of empowering youth, the Council works in partnership approach with governmental, non-governmental, national and international organizations, including private sectors. I would like to share some key functions of the Council, which highlights how to caregivers will be part of Youth Council Nepal. The Council provides youth the information and supports for easy access to the resources. This means the Council works as a youth information center. Further, the government of Nepal has declared to establish Youth Incubation and Innovation Center in each provinces of Nepal to pitch innovative ideas of youth. To establish youth-friendly enterprise models, the Council coordinates with the training providing institution and connects trained youth to the financial institution for subsidized loan scheme, along with startup funding. In this regards, it is an entrepreneurship development coordination center. Similarly, one of the key thrust area of the Council is to suggest Nepal government of progressive youth policy and budget allocation on youth. The Council simulates mock youth parliament program from local to federal levels to integrate youth in programs and policies formulating process. In this remarks, the Council is a youth leadership development center. It is to ensure the meaningful participation of youth in discussion-making process. Youth employment is an emerging issue of Nepal. There is gap between the skill of youth and job requirements of the recruiters. To bridge the gap, the Council works as a youth opportunities bridging center, preparing bold and smart youth generation is one of the prioritized agendas of the Council, and to meet the goal, we have been providing psychosocial counseling as per demand. The caregivers turned youth can be linked to any of the programs as I shared as an executive vice chairperson of the Council. It will be any responsibility to integrate caregivers to the many streams. The Council is the most inclusive government organization in Nepal. Hence, the caregivers will not be left behind in terms of policies and programs. Every youth is specialized, their voice matters. Let's put hands over hands to release this statement into the action, and I believe together we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your highlighting some of the critical requirements, but also the role of different partners and stakeholders in moving this agenda forward. With this, I will move to our last panelist, Mrs. Harshika Edrivira. She's the Assistant Commissioner in the National Department of Probation and Childcare Services in Sri Lanka. She has a Bachelor of Science in Human Resource Management and a Diploma in Public Administration Management from the Sri Lanka Institute of Development Administration. And she's also currently following Masters in Public Administration and Management at the University of Colombo. She joined the Sri Lanka Administrative Services in 2015 and has been serving as the Department of Probation and Childcare Services since then. As a member of the main government organization mandate to create a child-sensitive environment, she is engaged in the planning, implementation, and monitoring of programs to ensure child rights, identification of vulnerable children, and taking preventive measures to ensure their rights. Sorry, could I please ask somebody to mute? Identification of vulnerable children, preventive measures to ensure their rights, and promote deinstitutionalization, reintegration, strengthening foster care systems, and strengthening the child rights, ensuring that community structures like VCRMCs and child clubs in order to promote safer environment for children. Over to you, Mrs. Edrivira.
Thank you very much. And greetings from the Department of Probation and Childcare Services on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka. And it's very interesting and very happy to see you all. I think after the 2008 BICON, which was held in Delhi. So it's very insightful. If we heard the presentations done by the previous in the previous panels by the care leavers, so I would like to give you some present you some achievements and the commitments we have taken towards these care leavers in Sri Lanka. So first of all, I may tell you the setting in Sri Lanka, the probation department. I'm from the Central Department of Probation and Childcare Services, which is under the national government, and we have 9 provinces and all the childcare institutions and all the probation matters are done by those provincial departments. So we have coordinations with those departments. And if I move on to the achievements of regarding the recommendations done by our care leavers in the previous sessions, we have concentrated and we have got to our consideration some of the key takeaways or recommendations done by the care leavers. I would like to present some of them, and the one is we have recently we have passed the alternative care policy, which has a separate section regarding the reintegration and care leavers. We got the cabinet approval in 2019 March, and it is a very good achievement we got. And according to the national alternative care policy, we have to prepare the action plan for the next years, and it is in the progress. And as you know, in Sri Lanka, a new government was appointed during this year, and just after a new government is appointed, they gazette what are the priorities work any organization has to do. So under our department, they have gazetted, we have to prepare a national program to ensure that every child in CCIs should have a foster parent, foster family. So we are in the preparation of and planning and preparation of that mechanism. And we think with the insight that this government has on the children in CCIs, it would be very easy. Next, I would like to tell you that in the previous plenary session, one of our the Deputy General Manager of the National Housing Development Authority has attended the plenary session, and our caregivers have raised the problem of housing issue. And he has just after that session, he has had discussions with his organization and also our GNG network and the SOS Children Village also attended those meetings, and now finally they have agreed to build some houses for our caregivers, and they have, with the collaboration of our department and the National Housing Development Authority, and we are now planning to get this issue to the ministers of the relevant authorities, Minister of Children and Women and the Housing and Urban Development Minister, so that we hope that in future we could have some quota from the houses they build annually to the caregivers. And also we have some and also they talked about the skill to which match for the occupation, which match for the employment, and we should they ask for skill, they should prepare for any employment. So we have taken actions to prepare those youth to the normal smooth transition to the normal life. So we have signed MOUs with several authorities. One is we have signed an authority with NITA, National Apprentice Training Authority, which is the main body for apprentice training in Sri Lanka. They have agreed to provide trainings to our institutional children in institutional care for free, and also in the second phase they have agreed to develop some of our child care institutions to the level of national accredited training centers, so that easily our children children in institutional care can get qualified with the NVQ, world accepted NVQ certificate for their trainings. And also in Sri Lanka.
So sorry to disturb, but because we're running a bit late with the session, would it be possible to wrap it up in the next 1 or 2 minutes?
Oh, okay, it's okay. And also I just and also and we have given the expected recognition to the GNG network in Sri Lanka, and they have closely worked with us. And also we have some suggestions to the GNG network, and they can work collaboratively with the international level also. And Commissioner wants to tell that if we can generate or prepare any platform which they can work with us closely, because for example we have under our department we have child clubs, so they are those children meet policymakers at the National Children's Council in the national level. So likewise we would like to have a platform with those care leavers in Sri Lanka, and also I have to wrap it down now. So I wish all the best for your future future work, and we are here, and we always be with you, and to work with your work.
Thank you so much, Mr. De Rivera. I really appreciate all the efforts and also the commitment from different ministries as well after listening to the sessions today and previously. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Gift, I believe, to continue the previous session. Thank you so much for all the panelists with us today. And it's really heartening to hear about your commitments as well as how you will take it forward with other partners in your countries, but also at the regional level as well. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. We are, this is great. This is wonderful to hear. We are so super excited to hear about the different developments that are happening in different countries all over the world, especially in South Asia. We are very happy to hear of that development. And I would like to also bring in the three care leavers who were yet to present. We just want to run through the remaining three presentations. So that's Ruth, that's Robin, and that's Jack. So I think we'll start with that order. Robin, are you there? Then after Robin, we have Ruth. Then after Ruth, we finish with Jack. Over to you.
Who starts now? Because that's not my slide.
Okay. Okay, so can we have...
Yeah, that's the slide. Okay, hello. I think we run out of time, so I try to be very short but concrete. My name is Robin. I'm a social worker and I'm also a caregiver and a board member of Caregiver e.V., which is a German caregiver self-organization. Yeah, we want caregivers who understand, accept, and nourish us. We want to be better prepared for leaving care. In my preparation for this short input, I wondered, what do you actually need for good preparation? And I think what's very important that all of us have enough time to prepare to become more or less independent, especially if some of us already have to leave care with the age of 18 or 19. And what's also important that care leavers are informed about their rights, I think, in care, but also in this transition to adulthood and also after care, that they know about their rights when they live on their own or whether they still get support by other social services. What's also important, if you talk about preparation, that we also talk about perspectives, that it's clear that the care leaver knows what happens after care, that's clear that the care leaver knows where to live after care, and that's clear that the care leaver knows how to finance his or her own life after care. And last but not least, I think it's important if we talk about preparation to become more or less independent, that we know that you cannot be 100% independent, that every one of us depends on someone. We depend on our friends, on our families, on other people, also after we left family or care. And that's actually very important that we have this in our mind, that we look on social networks for care leavers, also after care, and that care leavers still get support if they need in specific situations support, also after care. Now to the next slide. In the second step, I wondered what you as stakeholders might do to improve the situation for care leavers. And I think, of course, we have to look on each country, what you can do in your country. But I think what's important in all countries that we look on the specific situation of care leavers, that we look on their rights. And especially here in Germany, a big topic is the living condition for care leavers after care. And this is something where I think that's important, that every care leaver has the right to stay in care if he is at risk to be homeless, if he has to leave care. And the second point that I think it's very important, that child and youth facilities should have concepts how to improve the transition to adulthood. That's something we realize here in Germany, that a lot of facilities already have good child protection concepts. But if we talk about the young adults, they are not always that prepared to improve this transition to adulthood. But on the other hand, it's important to also support these child and care facilities financial so that they have enough social workers and also well-qualified social workers who can really support care leavers, not only in this transition, but also after care, that they, for example, still have a coming back option, that care leavers can still go back to his or her care facilities to ask their old social workers to support them. Yeah, that was actually my input now.
Over to you, Ruth. You can take it.
Thank you so much, everyone. You'll excuse me that I'm not going to have my video on because of my bandwidth. My name is Ruth Washuka, and I am joining you from the Global South. This is Kenya, Nairobi. If I ask all of you here, I see we are close to 200 or perhaps more, I'm not sure. If I ask you, what is that first thing that you think of when someone mentions Africa? And now that I say they come from Kenya and I'm an African, what is that one thing that came to your mind? Perhaps some of you will tell me wildlife. Those who have been to Africa will say it's a beautiful continent. Others will say vegetation. Someone else will talk about war, and someone else might perhaps mention about a poverty-stricken continent. They're all right. And this is what we call the single story. So a single story presents something and someone particularly as just that. And a single story creates stereotype. And not the problem is that they are not true, but single stories only come out as incomplete. They are true, but they are incomplete. One story become the only story about something. Years back, my friend based in London told me how she wanted to take a trip to Africa. But first she wanted to come to Kenya, and she said she feels of changing countries, but she just wants to visit. And perhaps she may resort to staying in another country different from Africa. And I asked her, now that you're coming to Kenya, why can't you just make it a point to live in Kenya? And she said, no, Kenya is unsafe. There's a lot of crime in Kenya, and the insecurity is really high. So I don't want to live in Kenya. I just want to visit and live. That was her view of Kenya because it was presented as a single story. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who is one of my best authors from Africa, from Nigeria, says about coming from a very well-privileged family in Africa, where the father was a professor and the mom was an administrator. But then they had taken in a houseboy who had come from a very poor family. And every time Chimamanda would eat and have, not clear off the plate, the mom would say, don't you know the boy comes from a poor family where they have no food? Until later in life, when she visited this poor boy's family and found out that they had a big farm and there's something they could do. Had she not visited the home, she would have made the single story of this boy come as a boy who comes from a poor family. Later on, in 2016, I was in a panel and someone was trying to apply for a scholarship to go to India. And one person said, why would you be interested to go study in India? It's really overpopulated and India is actually poorer than Kenya. It was a single story presented of India to so many people. Had I not met Dr. Kiran and the rest of the amazing people here, I would have a single story of India as a poverty-stricken country, not forgetting the amazing things that India brings, including being on the front line to fight for the rights, the human rights, which includes child rights and youth rights. You see, what I'm talking today here is the dangers of a single story. And I said when I was beginning, it's not that it is not true about those factors, but the story is incomplete. What we do as human beings is that we focus on what such things cannot do, but we forget on what they can do. I'm bringing you to the single story of a care leaver. We have more often than not focused so much on the negatives, what caregivers cannot do, what they lack, what went wrong. But we have overshadowed these with the amazing resilience and strength that caregivers can bring to the table. A single story breaks the dignity of people, but when told in a balanced way, it can repair that very broken dignity. My key takeaway is that we need more research on the strengths. We need more research on the resilience of caregivers. This came across as one of the key takeaways for the many sessions that we have done. And caregivers feel, yeah, while there has been this negative impact into our lives, to me, it comes out as a single story. What am I saying? When we spoke about Rwanda years ago, and we keep talking about Rwanda, someone will tell you of the genocide. We are forgetting that Rwanda is one of the best countries in Africa with a very focused president. And actually, Rwanda has been the very first African country to implement care reforms or the institutionalization of children with a success story. I'm looking at the formation of a diamond. No one really focuses on the pain that the diamond has to go through or gold, but we focuses on the crown. We talk about how precious it is, how worth it is. Well, we learn on what went wrong so that we can make it right. There's danger in focusing on the negatives of caregivers. If we could adjust our lenses and see what caregivers can do, see how caregivers have come through, and you'll only tell me that it takes resilience to be able to go through a college degree or college diploma when you had zero support after 18 years. These are stories of heroism. These are heroic. These are warriors. So as I talk about this key takeaway, I want all of us to think about the danger of a single story, that we are calling all people, the NGOs, the people working with organizations here, that could we see more research on the resilience of caregivers and not really the negatives. There has been a lot of story told about this, but let's remember that let's focus on what else can they do rather than what they cannot do. I complete and I conclude by saying that caregivers are not what they went through. They are what they came out of it. You came out strong. You came out like a lioness. You went through fire and you came out strong. You were separated with your parents and you still made it. Caregivers are not what they went through, but they are what they came of it. Let's see more researches from researchers. Let's see more stories about their resilience and success. Thank you so much, and I hope we all have a wonderful rest of the session. I am calling the next speaker, who I think is Jack. So over to you, Jack, and welcome.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm being heard by everyone. Hello?
Yes, Jack, you can continue. We are hearing you. You can continue.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Ruth. Your presentation was heart-touching. It moved me seriously, but thanks for that. God bless you. Actually, I'd earlier on started my presentation, but I will just move through briefly because I know part of this has also been mentioned already by the people that came previously. My name is Sabiti Jack from Uganda. I am representing the Uganda Caregivers Association. I am supposed to discuss a topic that is just right on the, just on the slide saying that 25 years should be the new 18, soft landing from Planet Youth Care to Planet Earth. I definitely say that 25 years would be good, but I would suggest that possibly 23, possibly 21 to 23 would be the best, so that the remaining few years should be for the support that we need to for us like to face the world, because we realize that when you as a caregiver is released from the age of 18 downwards, you find that it is really very hard for them to. Someone want my camera to be on. Let me try that out, but my background is not all that good because I'm at the hospital, as I stated earlier on. So I beg for that. Please forgive me. So as I was saying earlier on, I was saying that, sorry, someone is on the background. Okay, thank you. I was saying that 23 would at least be the best here other than 18, because when someone is released from 23, at least is well prepared to face the world, because we realize that the world inside the institution is really different from the world outside. So life in is a little little different from the world outside. So we believe that when someone is already 3 years, that person can really face the world and really look at it and handle it properly with all its problems. But still, this person will also need some help and some support with the time, because we have realized that a complete care should, at the institution, should at least stop at 23 years, not 18, so that the next 2 or more remaining years should be used to be like to provide semi-support to the caregivers. And alongside that, the semi-support here, most of us, my colleague have already talked about things to do with education, because we realize that we need really bursaries or scholarship to come out to help us, because we realize that most of us leave these care facilities or institutions and then come out, we find that we don't have a clear kind of educational background, but we need these bursaries, we need this scholarship, we need these fundings to help us push on with education, so that by all means, we find at least that we can have a future. And this support can come from the government, from the NGOs, from civil societies, from any other organization that is willing to support us. Because sometimes we find that we come out, like in lower secondary, we don't have any papers, we don't have any certificate to do anything, and according to the institution, they will say it's done, we can now start living our lives. Sometimes we find that this is not appropriate, this is not okay. We find that even with finances, some of us have business ideas, and without these finances, we cannot push this, we cannot make this become a better idea. So we need these organization institutions to come and support us, to give us some loans or fund in terms of loans, or with like little or no interest, or grants, or even funding to help us push on. Because sometimes you find that it's really very difficult. You come out, you have your ideas, and sometimes it just dies with you. It just gets buried with you because you don't have anything to help you push it out so that it can exist. We also need support, this semi-support. One of it also is housing, mostly in Uganda, my country. Sometimes when we are done, and then like mostly the care facility or institution lets you out, it is really very difficult. You find that some of us even have no relatives, no living relatives. Like, for instance, I know most of you know about the Kony insurgency that took place in northern Uganda, and lots of people lost their lives and people died. And most of these kids ended up being in orphanages. But now when we went in orphanages, you find that we don't have any other relatives living outside. But when you reach 18, you already moved out of this care facility and taken out. And then when you get out, you don't have anyone to talk to, no family, no home. Imagine that kind of situation. It is really very difficult. And then you find that you don't even have people to run to. You don't have anyone actually to talk to share out your problems, because I believe in the statement that says a problem shared is the one solved. But you find that you don't even have anyone that you're going to share this problem with. So it becomes really hectic, very, very complicated. So we need this support to come in place. We also realize that sometimes we need this professional support. We need also this counseling and guidance. People should come in to help us, because sometimes we find that it's really very hard. And then we also realize that it is very important for these things to come out, but how will it come out? We need a body, we need some office, we need a place, we need really some organization that will be set in place so that all the care leavers can run to. When you're stuck, when you don't have a job, when you've struggled with the life, when you see things not coming out, things not adding up for you, you really have an office, you need to have a body, you really have a place, you really have an organization that you can run to, and that when you run to, you can get help. You can, when like you run to them, your problems can somehow be solved. And then you realize that some example on this, you realize that some of us finished our courses, and then like some of us who did nursing, you realize that you finish nursing course, you have your papers, you have the documents, but you cannot get a job. You move in and out looking for a job, you go from place to place looking for a job, but it's really very hard for you to be employed because you don't have anyone to stand behind you, anyone to push you forward. But if you have these institutions, these bodies, these offices set in place, they will be able to go and introduce us to a place, introduce us to a job in the organization that is employing. More especially, it's now becoming very difficult during this pandemic. A lot of organizations have laid out their workers because of lack of money to pay them, to pay their salaries and the rest of it. So you find that if you're a care leaver in this situation, you have nowhere to go to, you have no one to run to, you have no one to ask for help, for support. So we need these bodies, these places, these offices to be set in place so that we can be supported. We realize also that follow-up is necessary, a follow-up is needed. Like for my case and for our for the Uganda and other parts of the world, we realize that most institutions cut off their connection and their communication with the care leavers once you are led out after mostly 18 years, or even others even live before reaching 18 years. So we realize that we don't have communication. These people don't even feel like the institutions do not even look for you. They're not even interested in knowing how you're surviving outside. Sometimes this becomes very difficult. Imagine letting out your son goes out to live in the world. You don't even want to know what he's doing. You don't even want to know, you're not even bothered to try to check out what is happening with them. It really becomes very difficult. According to the data in Europe, we have realized that parents in Europe will always allow their children leave the family to start independent living when they have reached 26 years.
Jake, I'm sorry for cutting you. We are a bit running out of time.
Just 1 minute.
Can I give you 30 seconds to wind up? We are running out of time.
Yes, please. I was saying that according to the data, we have realized that in the Europe world, I mean the European world, a parent out there will never allow the child to get out of the family to start independent living when they have not yet reached 26 years. This is really very true. And when this happens to other parts of the world, why not the care leavers? We are here, we are suffering. We need our voices to be heard. We need our people to come in to help us. But how can this work when people don't know how we are surviving, how we are going through life? My dear, life is really hard. Life is very hard. There's nothing that can be done for care leavers without a care leaver. Thank you so much. This is my point, and I wish you the best in the entire session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jake. Thank you, thank you. We are now going to ask us patiently for just a little bit of 30 minutes so that we can finish the second panel discussion that we have and the other remaining items that are in our event. So I'm kindly asking us for just 30 minutes to quickly work on that. I now want to welcome our second session, and also I want to welcome our esteemed guests who are going to have a panel discussion again, and they are going to be moderated by Maximilian Ulrich, who is the founder and the managing director of Make Me Smile. You can see I'm even smiling. He is one of, and also is also a Kenyan, and is also a member, a board member of FIS Australia also. I hope I got it right, and FIS Europe, by the way. So over to you, Maximilian. Take us through the second session, please.
Thank you, Gift. What a pleasure to be with you all today. I'm very honored to be back. I've joined and had the honor of moderating a session just before when I was still in Kenya. Meanwhile, I've shifted continent and I'm joining you from Austria, not Australia, just as a clarification. So I'm part of the board of FISE Austria and FISE Europe. And I'm very glad that through working in these projects, organizing programs for care leavers, I had the honor of working with some of the young experts who talked to us today. So I'm very thrilled and glad to be with you here today. And I really just want to emphasize and put a great vote of thanks, gratitude and appreciation that we had these very incredible, powerful voices of young people here sharing with us their recommendations. And looking back in the years when we've worked and been in these different networks, it's today and the convention as a whole seems like a dream come true. But we finally have these empowered young people here together on a panel with political decision makers and letting their voices be heard in policy making, and that we can benefit from their wisdom and their amazing experience that they're bringing into here today. And I think today is also an evidence in this whole convention. We said that there was a need for these networks to bring empowerment of the young people, to bring self-esteem, participation. And I think we're seeing all of this by just listening to the very powerful stories of the young people here. And it's already working. We're seeing the results. And so it's now only to the other side of the table to listen to these very powerful stories and to their requests and sharing their recommendations to us. So I'm very honored and happy to introduce to you a very great panel. Thank you so much for availing your time. And we'll really be looking forward and appreciate if you can share some of your thoughts and reflections on the key takeaways from the young people and what we can do or what you could do to commit towards making these come true. So I'm glad to start with our first guest today, introducing Honorable Dr. Matthews Nyashanu. He's a member of parliament in Zimbabwe. He's one of the child rights champions in the country, having been a founding member of the Child's Parliament of Zimbabwe. And also he's currently the chairperson of the Parliamentary Steering Committee on Child Rights and a member of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Budget, Finance and Economic Development. So without taking more time, the floor is yours, Dr. Nyashanu. Thank you. Sorry, I think you're on microphone. We need to switch on your microphone.
Right? Is that right? Is that okay?
Yes, perfect. Wonderful.
Thank you. Can I carry on?
Please
Is it okay? Thank you. Yeah. Firstly, I want to thank the conveners of this convention to say thank you so much for this wonderful conference. I must say we share the same desire to see an improvement in the quality of life of our children. And we at policy level would want to see improvements in policies, improvements in laws, our national laws, our regional laws, and even at global level. See that the quality of life that our children live is improved. If I may take you back, if I may take you to the context of Zimbabwe. Yes, we do have quite a number of challenges with regards to care leavers, particularly when one wants to examine our socio-economic environment, in which over the last 2 decades, situations have been deteriorating in care facilities. And the children living these care facilities are facing serious challenges, especially those who are living at the age of 18. They become mostly street kids because they have nowhere to go. But what we are trying to do as policymakers in the country is to ensure that we change the age of 18 to the age of 22, so that we then be able to provide the necessary skills. There will be time to provide the necessary skills to the child before the child is sent to the world. These are some of the initiatives, but the challenges that we are confronted with are those of funding, where we are not having enough resources to look after these children in terms of their education requirements, in terms of livelihood initiatives, skill development for the children. So these are some of the challenges that we are facing. But yes, we are trying to look at the Children's Act and see how it can be changed so that it accommodates children, so that they are not prematurely sent out to the streets. We are also encouraging government support to children living in residential care facilities. And we are also encouraging government support to young adults upon discharge from residential care facilities. And we are also looking critically at the enrollment of children into care facilities, where we are saying government must be providing, per capita grant for every child, and also administration grant, so that those who are looking after the children could be paid. These are some of the initiatives we are making. And the country is also facing dwindling donor support, whereas in the past we have had so many donor organizations supporting the initiatives of government with regards to caregivers. At the moment, we are facing dwindling donor support. We are also facing challenges in the issuance of court orders, where normally children would have to be taken by foster parents. The process is unduly delayed, and that is also causing problems. But we want this process to be thorough, because we want the foster parents to be able to work with the government in providing future care for children. The other challenges that we also face are to do with child indiscipline. There are also serious child indiscipline in various care facilities, the abuse of drugs and so on, and that presents serious challenges to the manner in which children are being looked after. But we also saying, as a country, we need to be able to provide land to the caregivers, so that they are able to engage in sustainable livelihood projects on farms to take care of themselves, because the country going through socio-economic challenges, as I've said, there is serious shortage of capital for the caregivers to be able to access to start up their own projects. So we have been in the past appealing to those funders who can be able to assist us in that direction.
Excuse me, Honorable Doctor, just to remind you of time, unfortunately we have to wrap up. And could I kindly request you, now we have heard a lot of the challenges, could you leave us with some commitments that you could give to these young people, hearing their demands and their recommendations? Any commitments you could try to give from your government, or what you could
Thank you so much. Our commitment as a government is to ensure that we revisit our Children's Act and make sure that we incorporate some of the issues that are affecting our children, so that there is a policy commitment to the challenges that our children are facing, especially with regards to the discharge of these children from care facilities. This is an area that we need to critically look at. And we also committing as a country to ensuring that those children who are being abused in the care of guardians, we also cater for that aspect in the Children's Act. We are going to be tabling an amendment to the Children's Act in a few months in the year 2021. We are going to be tabling that children's amendment bill to ensure that we make the necessary changes, the changes that enhance the rights, protection, and welfare of children. I thank you for this submission.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Nyashanu. That was a very valid input, and I'm sure some of the young people are very happy and grateful to hear such a serious commitment from a government, and that is definitely a very positive news and way forward. We appreciate your efforts and the advocacy you're doing on behalf of care leaders. Thank you very much. Then, keeping in mind our short delay, I would like us to move immediately onward to our next panelist, Ms. Emanuela Rossini from Italy. Thank you very much for being with us today. Ms. Rossini is an Italian politician, a linguistic, and a cultural policymaker. As a member of the Italian Parliament, she has been appointed Vice President of the Commission in EU Policies. She has extensively worked to improve policies and legislative measures for the care leavers, including the Care Leavers Fund, and she's a great supporter of the European Care Leaver Network. So welcome on board, Ms. Rossini. The floor is yours. We'll appreciate to hear your thoughts and reflections, and ideally some commitments on behalf of the Italian government. Thank you. The floor is yours. Sorry, your microphone still seems to be off. Kindly switch on your microphone. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here. And just I'd like to start saying that one of the lessons that we are learning from this pandemic in Italy, and I think everywhere also in Europe, and is that despite any social classes, we are learning that we need meaningful relationship around us. Neighbors are becoming our family, and solidarity is spreading. So that is very important. And out of this situation, I think people, they are changing, because what care leavers are asking us is exactly that our communities take care of each of the members, despite being part of the family or not. So in the Parliament, I must say that everything started when care leavers came here to ask for help. Physically, they came into the Parliament and said, "Don't leave us alone at 18 years old." So 3 years ago, the Parliament created a special fund for care leavers. Within a fund, a poverty fund, inside there is these care leaver funds for 3 years, and we are at the stage now, in these days, to evaluate the results of the use of these funds. What have we done? We use these funds to train and support the care leavers with a tutor, with a person. Because what they are saying us is after 8 years old, they are completely alone. So for those who need a house, we are trying to find a house together with 2, 3, or 4, because peer relationship is very important. They can't get out of a network of relationship with the social workers, peer, and then be completely alone. So we need to help them maintain the affective relationship that they had before 8 years old. So with this fund, to have someone trained to stand by a care leavers and help him or her to find solution, because each care leaver has a very special life. They have common needs, but very tailored. There are some who need psychological support, others houses, others, to complete their study. So to tailor the service is very important. So now this week in the Parliament, we are going to confirm this fund for other 3 years. And our challenge is that all the territories can be used and implement this pilot project. So to give a support, individual support to each care leavers. We are still not at this stage, but this is the objective, you know. Another important thing is that after 8 years old, we are trying to keep the care leavers in their communities for other 3 years. So if they ought to help them come back to a relative, to the house of, you know, to help them find a house, because it's essential. But the other challenge is after 21 years old. So last July, one of my proposals has been approved to extend the fund from 21 to 25 years old for those who need you know, and help to find a job or to go to university. So we are working with the Minister University to have exception for care leavers, not to pay tax, and that we already have this, but also to have access to bursary. So with a tutor who help you create your project of your life, and these, let's say, not exception, these facilities for university and for work, each care leaver can get to 25 years old, you know, with much stronger and hopefully integrated in the society. The last point is that a vital help in my country is given by care leaver networks, because in each regions, after 10 years, they now have a unit, a place where care leavers can go. They can try to have a dinner every week, or, you know, to listen to each other. And that is very important, to be heard, to be listened by institutions. So we are trying to that in each regions, the representative of care leavers can be seated into, you know, an administrative council and to be listened, so that every legislation, every measures can include a sort of, not an exception for vulnerable young people and for care leavers. For instance, free access to swimming pool, to sport facilities, you know, considering the situation of these young people who need, you know, a little bit more help by institutions. So I think, and this is my last point, is very important to create a network also among politicians. Maybe one member of each parliament who share the legislative measures that we are implementing and the best practice, so we can support each other and make a priority for vulnerable people in our parliament.
Wow, thank you very much, Ms. Orsini. This was very, very impactful, insightful, and very encouraging recommendations and efforts you're making. I think you have touched on very important and crucial topics, such as an emergency fund for accommodation, better access to education, supporting young people in the care leaving process with a mentor or a tutor. That is a very wonderful achievement, and especially that you've extended the fund to support young people up to the age of 25. Which is the average age that people leave their biological family. So that is a great accomplishment. And also the need for a network has been heard. I'm very happy to know so much is going on in Italy, that we have regional networks. And I hope from this convention today, we can further expand this network. And ideally would appreciate if also from your lessons from the network you're creating among the political members, it would be great to have more of this best practice shared with this community here. So thank you so much for your input. Keeping in time, let us jump right to the next panelist. Honorable Dr. Nivine El Kabak from Egypt. And I have to go ahead also, I'm sorry, we only have about 2 minutes left, so kindly be short, but allow me to introduce yourself. Nivine El Kabak is the Egyptian Minister for Solidarity. She has more than 28 years of experience in the field of development policies and social protection. Before this, she has been the director of Takaful wa Karama, Solidarity and Dignity, a national targeted social safety net program funded by the World Bank and implemented by the Ministry of Social Solidarity. So Dr. El-Kaba, kindly share with us your reflections and ideally some commitments on behalf of the Egyptian government. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being a part of this valuable and honorable session. It's a great pleasure to me to participate in it and to represent Egypt and its policies and public programs that's been acted so far. And I would like to thank the speakers for the great benefit that we had from valuable presentations, as well as the young people with their enthusiasm and rights-based approach and actually self-esteem about what's for the future. So I really benefited. I always, before I start, I want to pass my recognition and valuing for the young people who are really strong, who persistent, resilient, courageous, audacity for their passing through whatever they pass through. But I always say that there's always a new beginning. So don't get yourself to be down. Don't get yourself to be the sense of being victimized. Everybody passed through challenges. Big support for you, and I'm sure, and I value your strength and resilience. So always have a new start with a new hope. I just want to start with the principles of care leavers. It's very important to put some principles that it's first human rights. It's not charity. It's not something. It's rights-based approach. Second, it's a part of social justice. If we're speaking at this century of social justice and social protection and equity-based approach, so a part of the social justice is to support the care leavers in having their new lives. Third principle is empowerment. And that's why I'm urging them not to feel victimized, not to stress on their weak points or their previous challenges, but to look forward for an empowerment approach. Empowerment, it takes two to tango. They need to be empowered, and we will have our duties in order to provide that support to empower them. Third principle is participatory approach. We don't do it for them, we do it with them. I mean, it's very important to include them with us in having their self-determination and not to do it for them as if they're the receivers and we are the senders. It's a process, and it's a participatory process. I think also it's a collective social responsibility. It's not the state alone, it's not the community, it's a combination of state, community, also support of private sector, volunteers, as well as they themselves are part of it. And I think the NGOs have great part to do. So it's a collaboration, coordination between multiple partners, and it's multidimensional. It's not only health, it's not only education. It takes lots of people and lots of partners with decided on responsibilities and duties for each part and accountability system to strengthen the governance process. It's not my view or my opinion to participate or not. It is a duty that I have to pay as a government entity or as an NGO or even as private sector. I think also it is very important to speak about the coordination and the electronic network between us all. If we're following a case management, we're not starting after the caregivers. It's a long process that should start long way back. I mean, we do not wait till the age of 18 to decide on what they're going to do. It starts early at the start of their childhood, and it needs us all to network, and not to network through meetings, but to network through a database, a unified database that actually gets all people together to know with their ID numbers, all their history, or their cases, or their specific and tailored interventions. So without this electronic networks between us all, with a checklist of different dimensions of interventions, it's going to be very tough for them and very tough for us. And everybody will be running in certain routes out of good intentions, not out of bad intentions, but we're not meeting each other. And eventually, the multidimensional approach will be missing in the care leaving policies. the last thing I speak about, not only the principles, but the core issues that need to be stressed on is the policies, the legal part of it. I mean, since we're speaking about human rights, so we need legal issues, we need policies to be set on, and budgets. I can understand my colleague who just had his comment, the issue of budget. In general, governments see that physical investment is capital, but social investment is spending. On the contrary, it's investment again, but it's investment in human capital. So the issue is that most of the governments see this as a burden. It's not a burden. It is investment in human capital. It depends on the way how I see it. So the cost-benefit analysis for this is very important to be there. I think the issue of having budgets to be allocated, whether it's budget in the government itself or it's a fund, a national fund, but I mean, we should not wait and then look for the resources. The resources have to be planned and secured in advance. I think also it is a process, as I said, that needs regular planning and regular revising of this planning with a tailored approach for each case according to the specificity of this case. We need a transition period before just the leaving part. I mean, it's not just they wake up in the morning and then they leave. I think having a transition period and preparatory and rehab in order to meet their lives independently is very important. Having their choice and their specification, as I said, it's very important to look into the different groups, like people with disabilities, like gender, especially the women who get their divorce. If they are in Oriental culture or Arab world or something like that, they don't go back. I mean, sometimes the girls specifically have their double discrimination. Also, I would like to the light on the drugs and substance issues and drugs and substance abuse that need special treatment. So these vulnerable groups, gender, disability, drugs and substance abuse, mental issues have to be considered. I think we have to get the society prepared for it so as not to have these young people socially excluded. So it actually complicates things, and they made them feel that sense of victimization and social exclusion. So I think having this of a media campaign or sensitization campaign to improve the image of these young people. I mean, don't get them prejudged, because they are, in general, there are many of the prejudgments about these young people when they get out to life. In their, even in their job placement, they're not necessarily, and we always categorize them in vocational or agricultural issues. They're free according to their capacities and their skills to join whatever they have. I mean, they are not actually locked into different, in specific sector, because we see them as that. Let's have vocational training, let's have something like that. They could be professionals, they could be workers, they could be blue collars or white collars. So they are free in terms of their capacities and skills that we are due to prepare them for it. I think the issue of having placement services and living arrangements is very important. Otherwise, we will see other children in the streets, on the streets. Job placement and career advising, many of them, they don't have career advising or social care. Healthcare, and that's why you're opting in Egypt. I'll tell you when I finalize, I'm about to get finished, but I mean, healthcare is very important, secured healthcare. And again, it's not charity, it's secured healthcare. I think also the social care and referral services, they're out, but we have to keep a liaison between us and them, and to have the door semi-opened. The door having to be that open or completely closed. So they could refer to us whenever they need, or refer to a piece of advice, piece of whatever they have. I think also the postgraduate education, sometimes it is important. It could be subsidized. It doesn't have to be completely free because they're grown-ups now. but supporting them on this, especially with private sector, because they're improving and getting up the image of these young people. Prosthetics for people with disabilities is very important, because through these prosthetics they can have jobs. And I mean, if they are recovering from substance abuse, their support and medication should be paid. So it's, again, when I speak about their image, is protecting them from bullying, and putting with them their future plans, especially that they're about to constitute a new family life. So they should be mentally, psychologically, and emotionally correct. I mean, I don't mean correct per se, but I mean in a good position. I think tracing them, as we have automated case management, tracing where they are, we look for them and we ensure that they are in the right place. We should take a proactive approach. And that's what I do agree with the presentation at the beginning of this session, with a proactive approach. I think also having risk management for them is very important. So I end up with what's happening in Egypt. I think in Egypt we're not in a good position. Now we are constituting a vision and a roadmap on where we go. We have bits and pieces. I'm not saying we are bad, we're that much bad, but we're not constructive enough in a right methodological, constructive way together. And that's what I was just starting with, is that it needs a vision and it needs a clear roadmap. Different partners with different responsibilities, with different accountability if I don't commit that responsibility. So what we're trying to have in Egypt is we constituted a social justice committee run by the Prime Minister, and it is constituted of about 14 ministers. It's not only for care leavers, it's for all vulnerable groups and for poor and vulnerable groups, how to plan for them, how to have our policies harmonized together, and how to allocate budgets that go in accordance with these policies. So we constituted this social justice committee. I think we're developing a strategy and, as I said, a roadmap together with different programs and projects with different responsibilities. The budget is not yet secured totally from the government. We are advocating amongst us as different government partners. So, for example, Ministry of Social Solidarity is promoting and advocating to Ministry of Finance, to Ministry of Planning, to Ministry of Education. So actually, we're doing the sensitization amongst ourselves, not between us and community. And I think
Ms. Niven, I'm so sorry I have to interrupt you. Thank you so much for your very insightful inputs. Unfortunately, we are very late on time, and
thank you very much. I'm done.
I have to wrap up. Yeah, thank you so much for your inputs. This was extremely helpful and interesting, and I think we have a lot of confidence by your profound understanding of the challenges of the care leaving process in Egypt, which gives us the confidence that this will be your commitment to continue engaging and supporting young people in their process. So thank you so much for the very crucial and important topics you have touched. Yes, time doesn't allow. Let me just jump right to our next panelist, and let me have the honor of introducing Mr. Tran Van Tau. He's a senior official of the Department of Children Affairs and the Ministry of Labor, Invalids and Social Affairs of Vietnam. He's been working as a focal point person for the international cooperation of the Department of Children Affairs, and he has also been he was the Child Rights Monitoring Officer and Secretary of the Vietnam UNICEF Country Program for Child Protection. So without further ado, dear Mr. Tran Van Tau, the floor is yours. Please join us and share your thoughts, reflections, and ideally commitments that you want to share with us today on behalf of the government. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for Maximilians. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Hanoi, Vietnam, to the ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we hear you. Kindly note that we just have about 2 minutes. And
yeah, sure. So it's a privilege for me to attend the important conventions I would like to introduce again that I'm working for the Department for the Children Affairs under the MOLISA, the Ministries of Invalid and Social Affairs. And firstly, I would like to express my highly appreciations for your generous support for the children in need of special protections and vulnerable children and the caregiver, especially during the COVID-19 pandemics. I would like to say that this pandemic is children and children in need of special protection are the most affected by the pandemic, and they are deserving for the highest consideration and timely support. I have listened to and take note and will consider it carefully the key outcome of the conventions and the roadmap going forward that you have presented during the meeting today. I would like to say that I like the philosophy and also wisdom raised by the caregiver that is nothing about us without us. That is a very impressive one. In Vietnam, we have a law on the children in the 1916, regulating that all the government agencies should maximize the children's participation, especially in the course of developing the law, program, and policies that affect for children. And I think that this spirit will develop further for the caregiver. In the DCA is the governing body under the MOLISA is implementing the functions on the state management on the children's. And the DCA is now working closely with SOS in the Vietnam and the UNICEF and other stakeholders in and out of the Vietnam to ensure that all children and the caregiver can have access to the information, education, employment, and other services to overcome the difficulty, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it is missions, not of a single body, but it's every agency, and not only one country, but the other country as well. I think that we should have a common platform to expand our network to have a better protection for the caregiver. I would like to tell the caregiver that we are with you and we will try our best to do more than what we have already done to improve the quality of childcare in the alternative care system. I would like to express my gratefulness to you and all your generous support. We are willing to ready to continue our in-country collaboration and global partnership to support the children in general and the caregivers in the Vietnam. The last thing I would like to say that I believe strongly that we are doing well for children, and the caregiver is making the valuable contribution to strengthening the network for caregiver and make the world is better for not only caregiver but also for children. I would like to say thank you very much again for hosting or organizing this important convention, and hope to meet you not virtual meeting but offline meeting to share more attractive experiences and also the good learning from around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tao, especially for keeping time in this situation. We'll appreciate the inputs, and it was very encouraging to hear what is going on in Vietnam and that you are committed strong towards improving the situation for young care leaders in your country. Thank you so much for your work and for joining us today. Let me move right on and take this opportunity to introduce our last panelist, Dr. Rinchen Choppel. Thank you very much for joining us today. Dr. Choppel is the Director General of the South Asia Initiative to End Violence Against Children. He enjoys high regards as an expert on gender, human rights, and in particular as a key champion of child rights and ending violence against children. And he's also a member of the UNCRC committee and will serve from 2021 to 2025. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll appreciate your reflections and commitments to improve the care leading process in your country. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator. So I assume I still have about 60 seconds.
We would kindly, we'll give you 4 minutes.
Yeah, but that's more than sufficient. Everything that has to be said has been said. And for me, this whole afternoon was one afternoon of great learning. I, in fact, feel so enlightened with the fact that I, despite my 30 years plus work in the child rights world, there was so, little I knew about this whole spectrum and challenges, issues, and the universe of the child care leavers. And I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity. I thank Udayan Care, particularly Dr. Kiran, with whom I have had the privilege of long association. And she has been a source of great inspiration for me. And I also thank all those behind, of course, also SOS International, with whom I work very closely, and all those agencies who have been supporting this convention, and all those invisible faces who are critical to make a convention like this successful. I'm not going to get into what SIVOC does, the South Asia Initiative to End Violence Against Children, but I definitely want to confirm, reassure all the childcare leavers that in the days to come, I will take this up bilaterally with Udayan Care as well as SOS and others to see what SIVOC can do and what I can do in the South Asia region level. But I want to assure all of you that the takeaways that were presented, the type of rationalization, the justification, the philosophy, the realism and the emotional, the impact that has been presented in the reasons why these takeaways are so crucial, I think has been really powerful for me. And I want to reassure you that as I go to, take my position in the UNCRC committee, you have an advocate, a friend in the CRC committee to take these takeaways forward. And I will make sure that I link with all my committee members within the CRC as well as beyond the CRC to lobby for the takeaways to be rationalized and mainstreamed into different countries' policies and support systems. I will get better insights and guidance from Dr. Kiran and SOS colleagues. And I'm sure I'll be better prepared when I get to the committee. As you know, there is this general discussion on child rights and alternative care, which was postponed. And I think I'll be just in time in the committee when these discussions take place. And I'll be better equipped with all these takeaways from this convention to reinforce the value which can be added to these general discussions and disseminated. And I will also make sure that as and when I have the opportunity to sit down to review country reports, I will definitely look at what is being done in this area and ensure that there are adequate recommendations or concluding observations made. There is so much that can be learned from the care leavers, and as the care leavers very rightly said, I think they need to be given space to clearly define what they are talking about, which most times the decision makers, policy makers are not really aware about. So as they said, you cannot decide for us because you did not go through this life as they did. So I think these are important. I thank all the panelists for their wonderful presentation. I also want to thank all the care leavers, the young presenters who put so much life into, these takeaways, which so much for someone like me who is involved in this type of work all the time to learn from. And I am sure that this afternoon session will, help me to redefine my thought processes, redefine the way I work and approach the subject matter, and move this issue forward. I want to, from the land of gross national happiness, give you a commitment that I will definitely be your voice and your ambassador in the CRC committee and in the treaty body networks. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Have a wonderful day. And I look forward to future interactions and hopefully see you all not just online, but face-to-face in real life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rinchen. This was very encouraging, and I think you leave us with a lot of hope and positive way forward, knowing that the care leavers will be represented so well at the UNCRC. This gives us a lot of encouragement. We appreciate your work, and thank you so much for the very important topics you have touched and the commitment that you're making. So since time is not very much on my side, let me leave it here. A lot has been said by very great panelists and very powerful, encouraging and inspiring young people. So I don't want to add much more to that, but keeping in mind the time, I would hand over immediately to Martine Tove from Kinderperspektiv as one of the organizing committee members, and just extend my great vote of thanks to all the organizing committee members and to all the young people who have spoken up today and shared this incredible inspiration and very positive inputs of us today. Thank you so much. It was my honor to be with you today. And Martine, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to check, Gift, is there one last sentence you would like to say to the audience?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to say thank you so much for the opportunity. And I wanted to say to all those commitments, this is now where we have to hit the ground running. We have laid a lot of commitments from different governments. We now want to see action, 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 and want to say legislation and also programs must be done towards care leavers, and care leavers need support. We mustn't look at age, but stage, and let us walk the journey of interdependence together. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Martini, we needed
one
to...
final word for Kiran, because as I know that we were working on a very interesting website for the last week. So maybe you can just briefly say something about it before I close really this session, because otherwise it's a never-ending story today.
I am just so overwhelmed. I don't want to say anything. I need to absorb, and we need to meet and plan and go ahead. I don't want to say anything, but we have tried to put together a website as it was promised. Aviral, please show, because now time is really running out.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much. I'll just take a minute to thank you from New Socia. I'm from New Socia, and all the New Socia team would like to thank the organizing committee, so that you guys let us be a part of this such a big and important movement. And I'm happy to launch this site right now, which Dr. Kiran Modi promised all the care leavers for. I'll just launch it. Okay, here is the first look of the repository site, resource repository site for all the care leavers, all the people who are in this community. It's a one place for them to go where they can find out all the latest news that are being covered all over the globe. In all the continents, and this will be updated every single week, I would say. And all of the social medias are integrated here, so whatever is posted there, you can come and visit, see them all at once. All the upcoming events, just like this convention down the line, we'll be also having a lot of events, so all of these will be listed here. You can come, you can register, and you can be a part of those events. And I'll just take a moment to just tell about the team. This is the organizing team which is behind this platform, and what is their mission and their movements. You can read all of this on this particular website. It's live now. It also talks about the declaration. I saw a couple of questions that were coming in regarding the declaration. So all the information that these young care leavers, they sat together and they came out with, and one can come here, read about it. They can read it, and they can also join the declaration. Especially if we talk about the resource section right now, the resource section is divided based on continents. So different continents, different resources are divided into, but our plan is to drill it down based on country region. So if you are a person who is in doing research in care leaving, or you are a person who is a care leaver, you can find all the resources regarding your country here. And in the course section, all the relevant courses for your skilling and training will be listed here. And as we all know, COVID was a really hard time for everyone, especially for care leavers. So this particular section is created for them so that they can find resources which are there, and the studies that are being done here, they can read about it. Then I'll just take a moment to talk about community. One of the major point being a community forum, where all the people who are in this community or are part of this community can come here, create forums, do discussion, do networking, chat with your peers, and you can literally talk whatever is there in your mind and help each other out. And in this community section, we have photo gallery, we have voice of care leavers. And as I told you, this is the news section which keeps on getting updated with all of the news that are there. And then we have a blog site, because I got to know that there are a couple of care leavers who really like to write. So if you want your blog article to be published here, you can just send in your entries and it will be published here. After that, there is this event section which talks about all the upcoming event. And then finally, if you want to join this movement as a care leaver or as a partner, you can come here, you can send in your entries, and we'll get back to you. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Absolutely fantastic. And to make this website a reality, we need just about everyone to contribute, be with us, partner with us, and take it forward. All the care leaver networks, everyone is invited. Please, take this website as yours. Martini, over to you.
I think by showing this website, we could all see and feel that nothing is impossible, because this website was built in the last 14 days after the convention. So it meant, some people did really an incredible job. For instance, Lina and Chaturi. So a special thanks to you. And now it's up to us to bring it forward. My name is Martine Tobé. I do have the honor to close the event today. Normally, I'm the director of Kinderperspectief in the Netherlands, but the last weeks, I've had the honor to work like a personal assistant. So as a personal assistant of this amazing group of international care leavers preparing their presentation of today. And actually, it really felt like a promotion, because it was really awesome to work with all of you. In 2020, I think we all learned a lot about exponential growth. So, this crazy virus really learned on us something about exponential growth. And the virus learned us something about exponential growth in a bad way. But we can also use it maybe in a positive way, because it's very, very powerful. So let us use the power of exponential growth in a good way. I think we owe the care leavers to spread the news of the convention and today's event and the website. So for this good cause of care leaving, I would like to ask you all to be a multi-spreader. We can all multi-spread the idea about participation and care leaving to the whole world. So because together, I think we can reach thousands or maybe even millions of people. So let's share, multiply your insights of today, because change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. So remember, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. It's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to all of us. So spread the news. Careleaverscommunity.org. That's it for today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. And 3 cheers for Lina, 3 cheers for Chaturi, for Martini, for Dorothy, for just about everyone, the entire team. Thank you.
Take great care, stay healthy.